Yeah, mate. How's your day?
Oh, tidy. Just
Tidy?
kind of, yeah, tidy. Just
Nice,
happy
nice.
to keep it tidy at the moment. I just looked. I was just putting my stats in as Samika, and I noticed that I didn't take a trade after 11:42 today.
Boom.
And for me, that is a fucking, you know what I mean? That's like a,
That's
disciplined.
that's very disciplined. Like
It's too
I
disciplined for me, mate.
the in the chat, I think with the very first one with DG and CG, I was saying that, like, you know, if it gets to like 3:30 and I haven't taken a trade throughout the middle of the day, I tend to reward myself by like taking something real specky right in the last like 20 minutes, like trying to catch like some, you know, like late breakout or
We're all trying to relive those February vibes.
yeah, exactly. Like I'm still like, you know, basically, you remember that PRL day where it just fucking went ballistic? Oh, yeah. I'm basically like trying to do that every single day if I like behave myself throughout the middle of the day.
Is that when you held into close and the next day it opened? It gapped down.
Yeah, it just went gap down real late as well.
Yeah. God.
My open profit just fucking evaporated.
Yeah, cheese and getting pumped the night before, and you open up to that. It's a bit rough.
Do you know what? That was a huge like learning experience though, because it was the first time that I'd had like that amount of open profit like just evaporate, and just kind of and telling myself or like feeling like I'd made that much money when really like it was not materialized yet. So
did it scare you off swing trading for
life? No, not really. I mean, yeah, kind of actually. It was pretty horrific.
Yeah, it would have been.
It was horrific. It was
the best of us.
Yeah, it was like the Chris is saying for you to post a link on Twitter. Oh yeah, sorry. Give me 1 sec, Chase. I've got to post this link out. Did you see the fucking drinking game that he posted?
Got a good chuckle out of that one.
That's an amazing effort. Let me put it that way.
Oh God.
All right, here we go. Drinking game. All right, I'm going to repost his drinking game thing with the link to the We Live people. Get in here. Oh wait, that's my Don't want to post that. Wait a sec. Copy link. So we've got 52 and counting, 55 and counting. These are good numbers.
Nice.
All right. Let me just find. Oh, there we are. Coach. Chris, I'm gonna repost your drinking game with the link to the chat.
I actually hadn't heard of New World Resources for a while, and I just looked at it. It's a bit of a trade tip. I actually hadn't seen it in a while. It actually looks pretty good. Take that Monday.
There you go. Take a shot.
Shit. Yeah, I forgot about that.
Yeah. Take a shot. Right, I'll just give it one more minute. How'd you boys go? How'd you go, Chase?
It was a roller coaster day for me, man. I kept on buying breakouts and a fade on me, and it was all right, but it wasn't that great, to be honest.
Yeah.
It was, I don't know. I kind of just didn't feel really in rhythm today, but it was all right.
Did you?
No damage, but
no damage. All right, that's all. Look, if you can. Oh, DNT's. What's he doing? Can you make me speaker again? 1 sec. 1 sec. Just go wait for Dan to get in here. Do you say something? Sorry.
No, I didn't, mate. No.
Okay. Do you want to say something?
Nothing I can think of.
The heat is on.
Yeah, shit. I don't even want to look at how many people in here. No.
3,700. Yeah.
God.
Dan's having some techies.
You done?
He's not like you. He's not tech savvy.
Really didn't think it took much, but I'll take it.
I wonder if Grantos is in yet. If he's in, I can burn him. But Dan the man. Yeah. What are you all good? What's happening there?
Yeah, I'm good. I'm all good now. Yep.
All right. All right. Has everyone got a beer or something to drink? I guess
we're good.
That's wrong. What are we drinking?
Yeah, Chase. What's the weapon of choice?
On the Great Northerns, actually.
Nice. Okay.
Like
that. Tidy. Yep. Dan, what's a weapon of choice?
One of Chris's favourites, the Beechworth Pale Ale.
Drink.
Which one?
The Beechworth Pale Ale. Nice little crafty.
Okay. Actually, I'm going to get the drinking game up on one of my screens. All right, beauty. Just for reference, boys, I'm on the little creatures pale ales.
Oh, beautiful.
Yeah, I just went with a standard play today. Nothing too exotic. Beauty. All right. Well, I just want to say welcome everyone. Welcome to Trading Spaces. We're up to episode 4 now. Cruising along. Got 90 people in here and counting. Welcome everyone. Welcome to our speakers today, Chase and Dan. Round of applause. Nice.
Tough crowd.
Yeah. that's the I've said it like every week so far, but that's the weird thing about this whole scenario. It's like, you know that fucking 100 people are listening and are probably clapping, but you can't hear one single clap, and it's and the thing is, like, when I tell a joke, every single person laughs. Like I'm one of those guys, that has like great sense of humor. So to hear like literally no one laughing, it hurts a little bit. But yeah, we continue. So we're up to 96. That's pretty good. All right, so we're going to be talking about path to profitability this week, and I kind of went with that name, one because it just kind of sounds good. There's some alliteration in there, and two, it just kind of it's a bit of an open-ended one where I can kind of dig into both of you guys. We don't have to kind of speak about anything specifically, but we can just kind of have a bit of a chat. It's Friday, we're having a beer, just kind of keep it light. So yeah, I reckon we'll just jump into a few introductions now, and then we'll dive in. So Chase, you want to go first?
Yeah,
maybe
sure.
just go. Not you don't have to go too detailed, but just like name, where you live in, maybe your favorite style of trade, and then how many years you've been trading full time.
Yeah, sweet. I'm Chase Galbraith. From
Hi, Chase.
That's cool, class. From Jan Shark. I've been trading full time since March of last year, so nearly a year and a half now.
Yep.
Favorite trade, probably base breaks or range breaks or something like that. Something like probably intraday moves like that. Yeah.
Yep. And then so about a year and a half full time.
About a year and a half, yeah.
Yeah, nice.
Since March of last year.
Beauty. Okay. Dan, hit me.
Hey guys, I'm Dan T. Melbourne based. Favorite style of trade, I'd probably say, is morning drives. That kind of like larger move that sort of eventuates intraday. Yeah.
Yep. And then how many years full time?
Sorry, coming up to like about 2 years full time now.
Beauty. And you loving it?
Yeah, it's awesome. I can't imagine doing anything else at the moment. It's just, good fun. It's a challenge.
Yeah.
I think that's the thing about trading. Like, the highs are highs, the lows are lows, but you
want to sort of.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I wrote I put this song out last last week or the week before, or last week, called Showdown. And one of the lines, I don't know if I said this last week, but one of the lines in the song is, I go, boy, you way off. Can't collect the bounty, get no payoff. I'm begging, shoot me in the limb. Don't want to take no day off. And it's because, and I wrote that line specifically about day trading, like, or trading in general. Like, I feel like most jobs or jobs that I've worked in the past, you look forward to the weekend. Like, you grind it out all week just to look forward to the weekend. Whereas, like, with trading, at least in my experience, and it sounds like yours, trading is the good bit. It's the weekend that's kind of shit now. So when it gets to like Saturday or Friday night or Saturday, I'm just like, fuck, take me back
100%.
take me back to Monday.
Yeah.
Yeah. Anyone else feel that?
100%, mate. Yeah,
for sure.
Get to the weekend, you're like, fuck, what do I do with all the time?
Yeah, exactly.
I used to come and just look at charts anyway. And I'm like,
yeah.
Waking up Saturday morning, seeing what the lithium ETF did.
Yeah.
How'd you go today, Dan? Did you get a bit of revenge or?
I'll be honest, this week's been a bit of a challenge, actually. Like, it's definitely been like a scalper's, I'd say, market, more move to move kind of style of trading. Like, you really got to get in, take your money really quick and get out, which isn't like really my style. Not too much damage, but we go again next week.
Yeah, I think that, like, by the time you figure out how to adjust, it's already like the week's done. Like, I feel like these last 3 days in particular, like all the lift trades, once I think it was like maybe Tuesday, Wednesday, I kind of cooked it a little bit, or definitely Wednesday I cooked it. Yesterday I made a slight adjustment, but still didn't fully adjust. Today I kind of felt like I adjusted a bit better, but the trade had already kind of like, it just wasn't as easy. So yeah, it was a bit of a shit one where, by the time I figured out that exactly that, to just take the scalp and then fucking, move or wait again, it's already, it's kind of changed a little bit. Yeah, but if I'd have fucking figured that out on Wednesday or, at least yesterday, then it would have been a much better week.
But it's kind of like a fine balance, right? Because it's like, if the moves did eventuate, well, then, in hindsight, you'd be saying, oh, I should have, held longer or gone bigger.
Got bigger. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. I guess that time to adjustment is like really like a skill in itself.
Yeah,
something I'm still working on.
It's a bit of a dance, isn't it? Like when to push and pull, how to read the cadence of the market.
For sure.
Yeah, and I don't know if it's something you ever get like fully right. I don't think it's something you ever get like you actually ever fully understand. So that's why, like, I guess we get up every day with a new challenge in front of us, because we're never going to really like 100% understand that. Yeah. All right, boys, I wanted to kind of, before we dive into the trading side of things, I wanted to talk a little bit about your backgrounds, just to give me some context on like who you guys are and what may have either kind of led to how you trade now, or just, I don't know, just might give me some insight, or might give the viewers at home some insight, because you guys are, as we'll dive into in a minute, you guys are both profitable traders. You do this full time, you do this for a living. And there's probably a lot of people out there listening right now that are trying to figure out how to do that are on that journey right now to figuring out their profitability. So I just want to kind of go back first before we kind of get into how you got into trading. So Chase, I'll start with you, G. Like, take me back to 12-year-old, 13-year-old Chase. What was he doing? What was he into?
Maybe on me.
Yeah.
Well, I grew up on the surf coast, so like pretty much everything's centered around surfing. My old man owns a surf shop, so I pretty much the whole life, early life spent at the beach, and I didn't really kind of lead to this kind of financial direction till later in school. I originally studied civil engineering and finance, and went down the construction route at first, and then I never really had any inclination towards going into trading or anything. I kind of had finance on the side just because I think I was just told it at school that if you get a double degree, you're more employable. So I just took the finance part of it.
Yep.
And and then started at uni. One of my friends, dad, he works as a stock advisory for for ASX companies. I'm not exactly sure what his role is, but it just provides consulting to him. And he originally gave me some advice. I think he gave me some hot tip.
Hot tip. Wait. Is this bag tip? Is this
undercover?
Were you in the sauna?
Call me.
Yeah.
Just on stuff. It was like a Tasmanian gold mining spec, and there's your dog barking, mate. You have to drink.
I'm drinking.
So he gave me like some sort of tip, and I put my money into it when I was at uni, and I think it like 4-bagged in like a couple of months, and I thought, just like most people, usually have that first big win, and then you just locked in. Early retirement, yeah. I think so I just punted pretty much for the next few years whilst I was at uni.
How old are you? Are you straight out of school into uni?
Yeah, this is straight out of school into uni. This is probably I was probably about 20, so it's about 6 or 7 years ago.
Yeah.
No idea what I was doing. Just going on CompSec, seeing what people were recommended on Hot Copper and that kind of thing, and just chucking your money.
Yeah.
Whatever anyone said was good. And then I didn't really like start taking trading seriously till probably about 2016, 2017.
Yeah.
Even then, I wouldn't really consider it serious, but I mean, like taking more notice, starting to like get into like
bit more reading and stuff like that.
Yeah. Nothing like I didn't really know like different styles of trading or anything like that. I was kind of just dabbling and starting to take a little bit more interest in it, and listening to Chat with Traders, and of course Nick Fab's episode. I think most people listen to that and thought, "Fuck yeah, I can do this."
The big Fab dog.
The big Fab dog, yeah. So. And then, just listening to those guys and try to get an understanding of what types of trading there is, and, kind of like delving a little bit further into the whole world of trading as such. And then, I left uni, got a job in the construction industry. And during that period, I was with that builder for a couple of years, but I was like, the more I worked there, the more I probably realised that it probably wasn't for me, and trading was always going to be my passion, but I never really understood whether or not you could actually make a living off it, or was just something on social media you see and you're like, it could be, not gimmicky, but you're like, it's probably about one person out there, which it probably is the case. There's a lot of people who, a lot of people have a pun out there and want to crack, but aren't willing to put in their hours or something,
Yep.
Have the dedication to stick it out.
So what kind of made you realize that actually, no, this is real, this is very this has a lot of potential and I can do it?
I don't think I realized that I had potential until I went into it full time. I was trading and I could see that there was strategies. I didn't even think I had any edge at all until I went full time. Maybe I had an idea as to what I thought was a good trade and where I was making money, but in terms of actually having confidence I had edge in that, still to this day, I don't even know if I have edge sometimes. It's hard to have confidence in thinking that you have edge without having, at least a decent duration of making money consistently.
Yeah, you'd probably say like at least 3, maybe 4 or 5 years until you really start to feel settled. But even then, I mean, some of the guys that I talk to have really experienced, been doing it for, quite some time. And even then, I still feel like at the end of the day, as like disciplined, as intelligent as we might become, as well versed in either trading tape or trading a certain setup as we might become, at the end of the day, we are human. And as soon as that edge starts to, slow down or disappear, or kind of like or just something in our lives is kind of like a bit off. Like it doesn't take much to knock us. So
the imposter syndrome starts to creep in.
Yeah, it doesn't. It doesn't.
Sure.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah, and I think as soon as you become comfortable, then you become open to it going against you. If you as soon as you think you've got it under control and you've got an edge that's always going to be there, then you're probably opening yourself up, to losing trades. Totally. I think you have to be always on your toes and always be willing to, to realize that this might set up, or this trade might not be as profitable as it once was, and be able to just throw it out the door and start again, or look for new opportunities in the market.
Yeah.
Outside of what you're normally used to trading.
Yeah, I'll tell you, there's there's this Drake interview that I watched a couple of years back, and he gave this like incredible answer to this question that was basically like, who are you most like worried about in the industry right now? It was along these lines. He was like, who are you most worried about in the industry right now? Like, you worried about like like Kanye or J. Cole or Kendrick? Like, who are you most worried about? And he was like, man, I'm worried about. Tell you who I'm worried about. I'm worried about a 15-year-old kid that's in his basement right now. That's like figuring out this brand new way to mix, figuring out this brand new way to, and he gave that answer because at the end of the day, like to him, craft and mastery is like a non-stop path. It's every single day you're logging in and you're trying to like logging into life or logging into your craft. You're trying to make sure that what you did yesterday is not the peak, that what you do today is at least as good, maybe even slightly better than what you did yesterday. Because as soon as you start thinking or stop thinking like that and you get comfortable, that's when
get sloppy, 100%. And that's usually where your biggest losses come from. I guess that's kind of leads into the whole idea of when you've had a good run and you get comfortable, and then it's always the time that you get a bit loose and
and totally.
you forget risk management because you think you've got it all covered, and that always happens to be when you take the worst losses. So
So can I ask you, Chase? Your kind of like monthly reports, they all seem to have your Samika posts and stuff like that. They all seem to have like a really high winning percentage, and or the ones that I've seen anyway. Now I'm gonna assume that a lot of that has to do with some of your discipline, right?
Yeah, sure.
Is that a fair thing to assume?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah,
and
probably.
What I want to know is, where does that come from? Where does your discipline come from? Is there something in your past, the way that you've grown up, the way that the way that you orientated yourself to authority, or the way that you kind of went through uni or studied, or what is it that kind of like leads to that, where you just are so focused in on what you're good at and what your edge is?
I don't know if it's discipline in like general life as such. I think it's more that I just struggle to get conviction in ideas. Like I just won't see a setup just based on tape and chart and go, all right, I've seen that before. Like usually I need like multiple elements to come together.
Right.
Like I'll be looking at like the fundamentals of the stock and most of them I think, oh no, it's rubbish. So like I'll be usually trying to focus on a certain particular stock because I've done the research, or I've become familiar with how the tape works, or how the demand supply of the stock.
Yeah.
And then it'll take me a while to like actually, because like usually my worst losses are just coming from like, hey, like bang, that thing's it's finding volume, tape looks good, and then just throw myself into it without actually understanding it. So I guess it just comes from like a conviction point of view. Like it takes me a while to like have conviction in the stocks that I'm trading.
So you want a bunch of reference points before you're getting confident.
Yeah, like some people will just like scalp in and out, and they're really good at just coming to a tape, seeing it, and then cutting their losses really quickly and moving on.
Yeah.
Whereas I'm probably not. That's probably not how I trade. I probably try to focus more on a handful of stocks rather than just scanning the market. Like I'm not someone who would just constantly watch your smart list and then just pick a stock because it's moving.
Yeah.
If that makes sense.
Yeah.
I'm also like try to find a stock that I'm familiar with, that I've been watching for a few days, that I feel like I have a good good read on the tape before I enter it. So I think due to that, I usually have a better win rate because I've got more familiarity with that stock.
Yeah, right. Trading. Okay, so you've put in the hours. So now when you go to trade it, you're not just kind of like hitting a certain level, hoping that it kind of breaks and you kind of take your 10-tick win or whatever. You actually you've done the research.
Yeah, I think I'm more familiar with it than every something that comes up because it's got high volume, as for instance.
Yeah.
Like I think I've probably got a little bit more familiarity with that stock that I'm trading. So usually you're gonna have a higher win rate if more it's more familiar to you, I guess.
So just to be clear, you don't have any discipline in the rest of your life. Is that what I'm hearing?
Probably not. Probably not. No. I wouldn't say that I'm a very disciplined person. Like I go to the gym every day and all that kind of stuff. But I still go out on the weekends and drink too many beers and
cool. Because that was one of my
that
was one of my background points. Like what in terms of like 1 to 10, 1 being a nun, 10 being like Steve-O. Where would you put yourself as a party unit? 1 to 10.
I'd probably lean towards the Steve-O side than the nun side.
Okay, all right. My man.
I was doing Dry July last month, and then I got to
the second
the end of last week. The end of last week. I had a good week, and I'm like, nah, fuck, I'm gonna go buy an expensive bottle of red, and then pretty much got hammered.
Yes, sort yourself
ruined
out.
my Dry July.
Beauty.
Yeah.
All right, Dan.
Yeah.
So yeah, a little bit similar, mate. I kind of want to, maybe dive into, a bit of your background. Take me back to maybe 12 or 13-year-old Dan T. Was there any sport back in the day? Like, kind of what's the evolution look like?
All right, I'll take you all the way back. Look, came from a pretty humble upbringing in Melbourne. Lived in the suburbs. In terms of like career, like choice and stuff, in high school, I thought I was going to get into engineering, and I kind of did like sort of go down that study path of engineering and a bit of commerce. So there was a little bit of finance there, but trading was never really on my sort of radar. At the same time, I was like, very interested in like entrepreneurship and, starting some sort of side hustle, just that, that kind of stuff, like always, really G'd me up. It was quite motivating and stuff like that.
Yeah.
To just, get you start something of your own, and like, it sort of opens up possibilities. That was my thinking, at least.
Yeah.
Finished uni, and then I kind of went into the corporate space. I worked at one of the big 4 banks, doing analytics and stuff there. And then I went on a trip to like South America for 3 months.
Oh, okay. I'm liking this.
Yeah. Oh, let me just take it a step back. At university, like I lie, like I did put like I think my first trade was actually ADO. I bought it at like, I think it was like 14 cents or something.
Yeah.
And I think I bag held like $1,000 of that, which went to like minus 98% or something.
Yeah.
So that was my first foray into trading.
Yeah.
I had no idea what I was doing. I didn't know anything about trading, but I thought that, this was the golden ticket and I was going to turn that into 100K.
Yeah.
Which didn't happen.
No.
And ADO has since actually run, but I was forced closed out a couple of years ago because the position size was too small. Anyway, go to South America.
Yeah. Did you?
I sort of,
Yeah. Sorry. No, continue.
Yeah, and I just, I really, really enjoyed the travel aspect and the freedom and stuff. Then don't get me wrong, like I enjoyed my job, but I always felt like, starting some sort of a business or some sort of venture, because I was just looking for something that I could do myself and had a little bit more upside.
Like you wanted control.
Control, sort of open up your freedom of time.
Yep.
And like at the same time, like when you're working a job, you sort of have that limited, my thinking was at least that you have that limited upside, and, starting a business, whatever that may be, which in this case was trading, you're basically reaping the rewards of what you sow, kind of thing.
Yeah. So it's like a different equity curve, generally speaking, but because if you're building something yourself, but it has, I mean, if you do it right and if you put the hours in, it has the potential to hockey stick, and you're ready to basically put those hours in. Yeah.
So anyway, like when I was working at the bank, I was working in an area where you had to actually submit trade approval requests.
Yep.
Just it's like super tight and stuff like that. And I ended up becoming like the number one requester of like trades within the whole company, because I would just like in the morning like submit 10 requests. I didn't know whether I was going to trade something or not.
Yeah.
But I'd watch the screens, and it just sort of became a bit ridiculous.
Yeah.
So it got to a point where I was like, all right, I've got to make a call. After like listening to some Chat with Trader podcast, it's probably worth, just taking a risk on this, like asymmetrical risk reward ratio. Like I'm quite young. Worst case, I can go back and find some work, and just taking a chance on it.
Yep. And when was this? This is like 2 years ago or 3 years ago?
This was about 2.5 years ago. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
So I quit my job, went into it full time.
Yeah.
The thing that kind of really
you
like,
just went straight into trading.
Yeah, straight into trading. Like I'd sort of been lurking on it, like on one of these chat rooms, and I saw I saw a few of the guys. I'm sure some of them are listening in. That they were showing that it's actually quite possible. Like similar to what Chase is saying, you have a lot of skepticism early on whether something like this is possible.
Yeah.
Like guys posting 5K profit every day kind of thing, and like surely this is too good to be true.
Yeah.
But you sort of lurk around and you sort of validate yourself that it is actually possible.
Yeah. Yeah, like
me,
one or two of them could be like talking shit, but like, once you get to like 5, 6, 7 of them all saying similar stuff and doing similar stuff, it's all of a sudden like, oh no, this seems real.
Yeah, and like at the same time, like you sort of get everyone around you as well that says you can't beat the index. 99% of traders lose, that kind of stuff.
Yeah,
That might be true. I don't know.
Yeah,
but they don't. I think there's a difference.
You got my nen saying, "Isn't that just gambling?"
Yeah, that's the classic one.
Yes, Nen. Yeah. Yes, Nen. I'm just gambling.
But I think there's a big difference, which I think like people just don't understand in general. That there's a difference between, I think between investing and trading.
Yeah.
Anyway, quit my job, go full time. Don't know what I'm doing for like a while. I'm pretty much like out on my own.
Yeah.
And then you just you slowly start picking up the ropes, and here I am.
Well, I guess that kind of leads into this next one, right? So the introduction to trading, Dan. It seems like you just kind of like, what did you just start and you just kind of like, did you find anyone that kind of like pointed you in the right direction? Like that's a pretty big commitment.
Yeah. Yes, for sure. So I was in this. So I'll just backtrack a little bit. I did because this is sort of also like sort of segue from like what Josh and Erwin were talking about last week. I did give myself 12 to 18 months runway before I quit.
Yeah.
So I give it a proper crack, so I could like come in every day, not have to worry about paying the bills, etc., and just giving it a proper crack.
So you saved up
how this stuff works.
That amount of cash to kind of.
That's right.
Yeah. Cool. Yep.
Yeah. In early days, I was in this chat room, but I really didn't have any guidance whatsoever. So for like 6 months, 6 to 8 months, I'd say I was pretty much just like treading water, just watching what's going on.
Yep.
But then, like I think with me, like you slowly start to pick up gems of information, like from one person here, one person there. You talk to people, and I think it's just like the whole time in market aspect. It slowly starts to culminate into like understanding of the market microstructure, how setups sort of formulate what variables are involved, what moves this, that kind of information.
Yeah. So basically the time you gave it started to kind of like materialize into actual learning.
Definitely, especially tape reading. Like that's something that I don't think can be learned overnight. But once you put enough screen time in front of watching tape, you start to really see the patterns, and everything's quite repetitive.
Yeah.
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 I think another aspect actually though was sort of working with peers, like people that are at the same sort of trading progress level as you, and sort of coming together, sharing information and learnings and stuff like that.
Yeah.
That's probably a massive factor, I'd say.
Yeah. All right. So I guess we'll the next part. We'll go to Chase here first. So introduction to trading. I mean, you definitely kind of touched on that earlier in terms of you started with these spec stuff. You got your dad's friend or whatever. What was the actual kind of step from engineering into trading?
I guess from there it was more so like trying to work out like what trading style that I was trying to emulate or head towards from there. And then I think pretty much the intraday trading, because that's probably the most visible on FinTwit and that kind of thing. Started getting into that, and then understanding more so about tracking stats and trying to understand where you're going wrong by reviewing and that kind of thing. I guess I started probably about 2018. I think I was just trying to find that before. I was looking through my email when I first downloaded Sneaker Trade Journal and bought Sneaker Trade Journal.
Yeah.
And it was early 2018.
Yeah.
So then and then started, tagging trades and try to, even though I probably didn't have quite an understanding of what the setup was, I named it what I thought it was, and then started developing somewhat of a playbook, as you probably call it.
Yep.
And then trying to develop that over because I was only trading. I was trading at work, so it wasn't very structured in my approach. I didn't have I couldn't start trading from 10. I was at work, so I just log on and try to
see what you can get.
See what I can.
Like a seagull on a fucking couple of chips.
Yeah, you're never going to develop consistency, or even it's not possible to trade like that. But some mornings that no one will be in the office, I'll be there.
You could swing for it.
Yeah, I could swing for it for an hour or whatever.
Yeah.
But yeah, then I started getting a bit more of a taste for it, and then just getting a better idea of because pretty much just when I was at work, I'd be doing work on one screen, and then I just have a tape up of an in-play stock.
Yeah,
and then just be watching.
Right,
the way you buy it.
Yeah.
Just observing, yeah. I think for the most part, that's all I like. Throughout work, always have it up. I'd on my lunch break, I'd find out what stocks were in what I refer to now as in play.
Yeah,
but more so that they had catalysts that were that were doing volume. Had high R vol, that kind of thing, and just watch the tape. I only had Iris viewpoint, so it wasn't as if I had a histogram you have with Spark.
Yeah.
With your color, it was just the buy and sell lines on viewpoint that I had up.
Yeah, cool.
So that was kind of my introduction to that side of things. So I just, that went on for maybe a year and a half, 2 years. And I'd trade where I could, but most of the time I was just spectating.
And are you profitable through this time?
And watch. No, I wasn't profitable when I downloaded Smeco. It took at least 8 months of tracking trades before I'd started to flatline the decline.
Yeah.
Because for the first 8 months, it was just straight downhill.
Was it? Okay.
Yeah, it was, and it was very linear. It was pretty much just not proving that you don't know what you're doing. Pretty much, there's no consistency or there's no improvement.
But you're working. You're working through this.
Yeah, I'm working.
Right? So you're not. You're not too stressed about being in drawdown at the moment. Through this phase.
I think I peaked at a negative 10K, which was significant, but I felt like I was learning throughout the process. So I kind of just put it away as tuition or whatever you want to call it.
Yeah, absolutely.
I was accepting of that. And I think that 8 months, 10K, it is a big deal when you work at grinding away. But I kind of felt like that I was getting something out of it, even though I wasn't getting any monetary reward. I was getting experience.
Yeah,
and I knew, and it kind of reinforced throughout that time when I was working that this is what I wanted to do, because I loved it. I was so excited to get to work so that I could look at, not so much at work, so I could look at stocks.
Yeah.
I'm probably just excited as I guess. And then when you're getting excited to go to work so you can look at stocks, you're like, well, why am I doing
Why am I going to work? I can just stay home and look at stocks.
Yeah, exactly. Not that I would have made any money. I probably would have had a bar job, but that probably would have been a way to do it. Anyway.
Yeah, no, I get that.
It got to a point where I was like, all right, well, I need to make a choice now, because I'd gotten to the point where my equity curve was starting to point up. No, there was no consistency to it, but I'd at least stop the downfall, and I was starting to kind of find a little bit more consistency, and notice that there was certain setups and plays that I was more comfortable with that were starting to, I was starting to make a little bit of money here and there.
Yeah.
But usually I'd take some, undisciplined trades that would, screw it all up. But I could see a bit of light at the end of the tunnel.
Yeah, totally. And that's what you
there
need,
might
right?
be something there. Yeah. And then it came to COVID, and I think before, it was a week before, because we just had that massive, the markets had just completely shit themselves. It was, I put on a bunch. I think I bought AML.
Yeah.
At I can't go down much more, can it? I think it was $3. I think it went to $1, and I pretty much just I'd lost so much money in that in a week, where we were getting those limit down nights in the States, and I just come down and I'd be like, oh my god, another negative 20% or something.
Yeah.
And so I didn't have much of my starting capital when I got made redundant during the middle of COVID, and then I was like, I went to my boss.
Wait, when was this? When was this? Like,
this is March. So this is like the middle of COVID. Like it was when it started, when it was talks of lockdown. Everyone was kind of like really like edgy, like shit. Like what's this going to mean? Especially the construction industry. Okay. We started having a lot of like jobs being pulled. We had overseas investors that were pretty much pulling all their money at the time.
So you didn't quit to trade. You kind of got forced into that position.
I got made redundant. Yeah. And my boss like fired me, like pretty much said, sorry mate, we don't have work for you. And I was kind of like, oh yeah, no worries.
Yeah.
Like kind of like, why are you upset? Like you should be upset. But I was just like, shit,
bro, you just did me a favor. Yeah.
Yeah, and I got like given a redundancy package. So I've been there for a few years, and like that was my starting capital. So
fucking how good is that?
Yeah, went from there. Yeah, I guess it's one of those things where like at the time, like it's probably not the best thing, but it's, like shit just falls in place sometimes, and like what could be it's a blessing in a certain sense that kind of life kind of like helps you along.
Yeah, it kind of pushes you in the right. It's like you can either look at what you're in a moment like that, and in pretty much every moment we can look at what we don't have, or we can look at what we do have. And and I think too often we're programmed and forced to kind of look at what we don't have. But it's like when you actually spend time looking at what you do have and putting energy and effort into that, that's where I think the real growth comes from, and the real happiness comes from. So
most definitely. Yeah. Like especially when you've got like true passion for something. Yeah. Like you'll make it work eventually. Like as long as you put in the hours and you rock up every day and commit yourself 100% to it. Like I think over time you'll eventually make it work. Like it might take a while, but like as long as the passion's there and you're willing to put in the hours, like
and you give yourself a long enough long way.
Runway. You need a long runway. And like I mean, I was fortunate enough that I could do this at work. Yeah, because like an extra I probably gained an extra year or a year and a half of experience I would have been doing full time at home, losing money. Yeah. I was fortunate enough to not that I knew that I was doing it, but I was getting a pretty like decent tutorial into the intraday trading whilst I was at work.
Yeah, you were getting your tuition.
Yeah, so I probably got experience whilst I was getting paid. So
yeah,
I was probably fortunate enough there.
Yeah, beauty. And then Dan, we just touched on that with you, the introduction to trading. I guess we'll move on to this bit now. So how long did it take to become profitable? Dan, I'll start with you. Like you just went head first into it. You're like, fuck it, let's give this a go.
Yeah, pretty much.
Talk me through like, how long did it take to become profitable? How long, like if you went in a drawdown, like how severe was it? And, did any doubt start to creep in at that time?
Oh, definitely. I'm just bringing up my equity curve now, and hold on, let me take a look. Because like in the early, like when I first started, like you catch a few wins and stuff, but it wouldn't last very long. And then kind of I was kind of like flatlining, and then the the whole COVID sell-off hit, and I was basically just fading momentum every day, which was so stupid.
Yeah.
And
we all.
Yeah. I'm like, Flight Center's cheap here. Yeah, that's a great idea. Yeah, look, and like to be honest, I was in a drawdown period there. Like I basically after that COVID sell-off, I kind of just hit a point, and I basically just flatlined for about 4 months before the buy now, pay later stuff hit.
Yeah.
Which I'm sure, we all remember.
Yeah.
The glory days kind of situation. Yeah. The glory days, that's right. Yeah. And then I started, sort of, picked up some there, I think, but it was like a very favorable market where it didn't take much skill to actually make money in.
Yeah.
It was just like, like zip moving like 20% every day. It's just like, you kind of just got to, it's 50%. 50% chance. You just got to pick the right direction.
Yeah.
And
if you click the button, if you're able to click the button, you're going to do all right.
Yeah, basically, yeah. So I sort of made a bit back there, and then that sort of died down, and I sort of started like the damage wasn't as fast as COVID, but I sort of just flatlined, and slowly the equity curve was sort of grinding down, and then I sort of took stock of the situation. I was like, all right. What is what do I have to do to actually, accelerate this equity curve? How do I become more consistent?
Yeah.
And yeah, it was like a lot of it just came down to discipline. Like you see all these flashing lights, you really feel like you need to get involved, but
yeah,
it's about really seeking those high risk reward opportunities and just allocating your capital in the right moment.
Yeah.
If that makes sense.
Yeah, I suppose that was one of the like main things that we touched on last week with the boys was that that the idea of trading, once you figure out like a basic understanding of how tape works and how order flow works and how like a 1 minute daily chart works, once you figure out like a basic understanding of that, the hard part is not the trading. The hard part is the not trading, as in like sitting on your sitting on your hands. Yeah, so it kind of sounds like, you know, you kind of reach that point where you're like, actually, no, I need to reel it in a little bit.
But it's kind of funny as well, because it's like you get to a point sometimes where it's like you think you figured it out, but you haven't. And there's always something more that comes around the corner that you learn about.
That's me every day, G.
Yeah. Like I remember like discipline being one of them. For example, like splitting the market into like 3 different periods, like the morning, the afternoon, and the close.
Yeah. Yeah.
And just sort of understanding like how volume behaves within the different periods. That was like one major learning. I'm like, okay, if I trade within the first hour, it should be fine.
Yeah.
But then there's something else, and there's something else.
Yeah.
And I think it's just like these little snippets that you just pick up over time with the amount of time that you spend in the market, where it just adds onto each other, and you start to really, you know, build your skill set.
Yeah. So what are we talking like in terms of drawdown from the minute you started? Like, how long did it take for that equity curve to swing back around and for you to become profitable?
I'm just counting.
Yep. Count away, son.
It was probably it was probably about 9 to 12 months.
Oh, right. Okay. Cool.
For the equity curve. Yeah. 9 months, I'd say, for it to like start, you know, heading into that positive trajectory that you want, that hockey stick.
Yeah, cool. And then so probably started to become regularly profitable after like 12 months.
Yeah, I'd say that. Yeah.
Okay, and this is around like June last year.
That's right. Yeah.
And so we're like a year later from you starting to become regularly profitable. And how you traveling now? A year on, are we still finding profitability each month, or are we still traveling all right?
Yeah, definitely. I think the last couple of months have been it's been a bit tricky. We went from, you know, massive euphoric bullish market like February, for example, where you're expected to come in and make life-changing wealth every day. But that's sort of ended, and you know, you have to really, like we were discussing earlier, you have to really adapt fast in terms of the changing market conditions, and that's like another thing that, you know, you sort of have to notch onto your belt, like adaptability to, you know, what the rhythm is of the market.
Yeah, beautiful.
But like, just to give some perspective to everyone listening, like in the last 6 months is probably 75% of my equity curve. So
yeah, right, okay. But yeah, that's okay, cool. Well, that's pretty good. Yeah. So between like June and maybe December, you're still like chopping around. Still, you're making bits of money, but you're not like crushing.
Sort of in the right trajectory, but it's just, you know, it's slowly. Yeah.
Okay. Well, what was the catalyst for that change?
So it's like, I was actually looking through sort of like a year in review that I did at the end of the year. Yeah. I think the big thing was just patience. Number one is patience. You got to wait for the right opportunity, the right setup. You don't need to be in several things every day.
Yeah.
And you want to put risk on when there's an asymmetrical risk-reward opportunity.
Yeah.
And just, you know, the things that you pick up over time as well, like understanding the psychology behind, for example, institutional execution, and, you know, how there's more behind, and that I don't necessarily need to scalp the first 5 ticks of like a 20% miss earnings downgrade, because if someone really wants to get out, it's going to take some time to unwind that position. And it's just the time that
understanding the difference between real selling and algo selling.
Hello, Leona.
Bye. Sorry.
Yeah. And also another massive aspect was categorizing a playbook. I think in the early days I was quite sort of blasé about it all. I just sort of, came in every day. I was spending time at the screens, but it wasn't quality time. And I think it's important to, separate and understand the difference between quality time at the screens and quantity time. You need to really use every trade that you take and every minute that you spend at the screens as
that's a great
opportunity to learn.
That's a great point.
And having that feedback mechanism as well by doing reviews and optimizing your process and understanding why something occurred and possibly highlighting bad habits that you're having so that you can really nail down and bed down that process.
Beautiful. Chase, same question, similar question. How long did it take? I mean, you kind of mentioned that before. It sounded like it was about 8 months, right, before you started to become profitable. How I guess you said there was a 10K drawdown. Were there any doubts, or were you just committed to like, I'm gonna fucking figure this out? And then how long did it take for you to really start to become profitable, start to actually make a living off of it?
Yeah, I guess I probably never, like, I was pretty stubborn in the way I approached it. Like, I kind of said, like, was like, I'm just going to make it work. Like, I probably didn't realize how hard it was going to be in terms of, the amount of hours and, and the painful drawdowns you have to go through and the emotions and the swings and all that kind of stuff that comes along with, trading. But I kind of had no other choice really. Like when I went full time, I was starting to show some edge, but I kind of started small and started pretty much just doing what I've done ever since, which is in smaller cap stocks and not really. I haven't really like left the selection of stocks or the field of the sectors and stuff that I trade at the moment. But in terms of how long it took me, so it took 8 months. That's just to get to the bottom of the curve, as in like stop the negative, the downward spiral.
Yeah, stop the bleed. Stop the bleed.
That's to stop the bleed. Yeah, then it probably took me another 3 months from there just to flatten it. Where I can't remember. I haven't got the equity curve from the start of my trading. I only got it because I did month by month. But I know it was like I was up and down, but kind of just consolidating at the bottom.
Yeah.
Before I started to like kind of just because I was just trading every other stock. I trade Rio one day. I trade some 1 cent stock the next day. I hadn't like tried to actually like focus my energy into a specific type of trade or setup or denomination or anything like that sector. So I was kind of just, there's no way you can determine whether or not you're profitable when you're trading that many different, different stocks that have no correlation to each other.
Yeah.
It's too hard. You really need to like specific, when they say like, when you hear like Mike speak about, find that one setup. I think when they talk about that, it's also talking about, it be a small cap, it also be, a certain denomination.
Yeah.
Like, it's not just like a range break for me. Like,
just niching down. Like, just really
niching down, becoming very specific in what you're trading, and then trying to only look for that setup in that type of stocks. And I think that's what really helped me, like, kind of understand where I was profitable and when I was profitable more so.
So basically narrowing it down from like, say, every potential stock on the ASX down to like, say, MLX and ADT.
Yeah.
Great stock, that
one. You want to know more about teeth? I'll space, but
segue into team chat.
Tell us more. Boys.
Nah, so it's just
sorry.
Drink up. It's just becoming more narrowing, where the stock size trading, so that I can understand what setups are working within those stocks, and then that kind of led to building upon that, and then I think that's where the profitability was coming from. So if you remove all the other trades outside of what you're doing, and then just like spend all your time focusing on looking for those kind of setups, looking at those kind of stocks where you're finding profitability, and then just try to level up from there.
Yeah,
that's where I kind of noticed when I was starting to become profitable.
Yeah,
and then when I started full time, I've been profitable from then onwards.
Yeah,
but we've also been in a very fortunate market since March. Ended after that horror show of those last few weeks of March.
Yeah.
But ever since then, we've been in a pretty decent market. So
yeah,
it's hard to say whether or not the same strategies would work in a bear market. But we've been pretty fortunate ever since I went full time. We've been in a pretty good market.
Yeah,
so.
I think a good example of that is, or for me personally, was the just last week, the first week of August. Like, I think there was that day that the PFE, that IPO opened.
Oh yeah,
and I just reckon if I'd have just sat on my hands all week and only traded that, which is it's the kind of trade, like, I didn't absolutely crush it, but it's a kind of trade that I feel comfortable in. That fast tape, bids are stepping up. Just getting fucking know. But it's it's a kind of trade that, like, I just feel really, really comfortable in. So if I'd have just sat on my hands all week and literally just traded, like, took that one trade that I know that I feel comfortable in, I have a good week. But it's
100%.
It's the 15 other things that I do, the fucking smashing around and just getting busy and stuff that I don't really have an edge in. That's the difference,
Yeah, if you could just nail conviction trades where you're like, all right, this is A+. I know it is in the moment.
Yeah.
And just you'd be profitable every day of the week. You know what I mean? Like, you'd never have a losing day if you had the self-discipline to only trade those. I guess it's all the other trades outside of your A+ trades. It's usually the ones that
totally
cause the losses.
Totally. All right. Well, just moving on. I suppose this is kind of tying into that. So, talking about I guess what we were just saying there is, like, staying in your lane, right? And I noticed. I think it was last month. You put up. You mentioned something about staying in your lane, right? You tried to trade Zip.
Yeah.
And was it like were you trading off VWAP, or
I wasn't
like how the trade work?
Oh, I was just, let me pull it up on screen so I can remember. I was trying to swing it. I was like, and like, because I was looking at liquidity in the book, I was just like, oh yeah, I can take that kind of size. But like, I generally haven't got a defined edge in these kind of stocks. Like, it's not saying I go into Zip and be like, oh yeah, like Zip probably more so than Afterpay. I'd find that I'd have a better time trading Afterpay. I'm a complete write-off. I reckon I got the worst win rate in that stock. but Zip, I think I was trying to swing it off the 700 level or something like that. Yeah, it was the 700 level. It was on the 14th and 15th of July, and I was like, oh yeah, I'll play that 700 level. It didn't hold, and then I just got smashed.
I think what day was it? What day was it?
It was the day, the 15th of July. I was.
Oh yeah. I think
I held that, and then I kind of cut in half into close, and then it just opened like gap straight down, and I was like, shit.
Yeah.
That closed out at half, but I was just way too big. Like those stocks, I'm happy to trade them because I'm still developing, especially in those those kind of stocks, as I really don't have like a edge that I can just show up every day and nail it. You still got to dabble in those stocks, like you can't just only trade the stocks that you're good at, because eventually, you want to have diversify. You want to have a bigger playbook.
Yeah,
and
totally.
You want to be able to trade those stocks, not just small caps. So, I still think it's important that you throw yourself into those and you do try to trade them every now and again and get some more familiarity with how they trade and that.
Yep.
But you just don't use big size.
Yeah, exactly. You got to test. You got to test.
Yeah. You just can't think, because I didn't have conviction in that setup, but I was probably using the same size I would if I did have conviction. So it's just going in there with small size, testing the waters, seeing what works, seeing what doesn't. But yeah, I guess staying in the lane, I'm more attracted to small caps, particularly like mining space. I guess Australian markets.
Any lithium?
I actually did not trade one lithium stock this whole run. I don't know why.
Right, just been sitting on your hands.
Yeah, I've been trying to buy gold stocks, and who knows why. But yeah, just being a fool.
Yeah.
But yeah, that goes back to like trading money flow. Like, it should have just been trading where the money was at, because like the lithium, despite it being what I'd probably define as being ridiculously overvalued, they keep going up. So it doesn't really matter what your opinion is on if they're overvalued or not. That's where the money is being distributed to. So
100%. And the market, as we've said on this show, I just wish I had like a crowd chant right now. like where I could get like a crowd to go, the market is never wrong. And everyone just says it at once. What do we say? What do we say, guys? The market is never wrong.
It's so fitting though.
Yeah.
It's like it I'm getting pumped about a 5-10% move while some of those lift specs like have been doing 50% overnight.
Yeah.
Like I mean 25% one day, 25%
exactly. Yeah.
So it's really just when I say fun, that's probably is my lane, but I just haven't been doing the research, I haven't been doing the work to it's probably my own deficit there.
So do you feel like did that when you decided to venture out of your lane, for example, with the zip trade, did that knock your confidence enough to be like, I don't want to go back there? Or is it just like
probably not my confidence in going back to like stocks outside of my familiarity.
Yeah.
Like I probably haven't experimented too much outside of my own, area of what I don't know if it's expertise, but where I feel most comfortable.
Yeah, totally.
So I probably haven't traded much. I haven't traded any APT or zip this month, so it's probably a good start anyway. I really don't need to be in those stocks at the moment whilst the spec end and the small cap end is getting lots of traction.
Yeah.
But when it goes dry, like sometimes the volumes and liquidity is terrible. So like you need to be able to venture outside of that, this area and then try to go because like prior 3 months, the mid caps and big caps have been moving far more, far better than the small caps. So you have to be able to adapt to in those times and to be able to, still make money during those periods when small caps aren't exactly.
Yeah, I suppose it's like a challenge. Like do you learn that stuff before you need a change, or do you kind of run it into the ground and then change when the change is required?
Yeah, it's a good question. I don't know. You probably should learn before, but I mean, then you're taking a focus away from where your profit's coming from. So I don't know.
Yeah,
because it's like, you know what I mean. Like if I usually spend all day looking at a certain handful of stocks, and if I trying to trade, the in play are the names outside of my own circle of confidence, I guess. Then I'm taking time away from what's working. I feel like one day, eventually, like say I don't know, like you can't get borrowing a lot of these small caps. So if the market does fade off, we do have a significant pullback, then you want to be getting, borrow in other stocks, maybe mid caps.
Yep.
Sometimes we have borrow in some names, but you still want to be able to go outside of that and, get those long trending downtrends in mid caps or something like that. So I think I'll just, when it comes, I'll just try to, give it a crack then rather than do it now.
Yeah. Dan. So in terms of I guess what is your lane? Like obviously we touched on it a little bit, but what is your lane, and then what does it look like to go outside of your lane, and how, do you have an example of that, and how's that impacted you? Whether financially or emotionally. Something that I talk a lot about is, and that me and Fab talk a lot about is mental capital. And how when you dance with the devil too often, you might end up exchanging a little bit of mental capital for that dance. So, talk to me about staying in your lane and what it feels like to go outside of it.
I think I have a good example from this week. NVX on Tuesday.
Yep.
I think it was.
Talk to me.
Tuesday. Yeah. Basically, the day that it gapped up after that strategic raise news it had. I was coming off a good week the week before, and I just decided, all right, this is really good.
Yeah.
I'm going to go for the jugular, and sized in quite aggressively.
Yeah.
And I think that.
What are we talking? How many units? Just for the viewers.
For me it was relatively big. It was about 35,000 units.
That's big.
Yeah, and I think just the liquidity wasn't there early on to safely, enter that kind of trade.
Yeah.
And the third candle sort of puked, and took a loss on that. Yeah. Got back in, recovered a bit, but it sort of compromised my mentality for the rest of the day, where it started trending all day.
And why was just to clarify, why was that out of your lane? Like, is that something you don't do, or was the size too big?
Oh, look,
trade.
Yeah, I think the size was just a touch too big, and just sort of seeing that profit evaporate that quickly, you sort of go from like okay, I'm gonna I've got a plan, I'm gonna nail this trade, to okay, I need to get into recovery mode. How do I dig out of this hole with my diamond shovel kind of situation?
Now, here's the thing. And here's the thing about sizing up. Like, even though like you felt at the time that it was out of your lane, you put on such a size that it was kind of uncomfortable, and you're still here to talk about it. You know, like at the end of the day, like, you know, you push the envelope a little bit, but at least like next time you do that in the right thing, it's not going to seem as scary, and you might actually nail it. So you had to have done it to know what it feels like to kind of live through it.
Yeah, that's for sure. That's true. And I think that's also an aspect of the growth in trading, where you normalize at a certain level, and you try to push that boundary just a little bit. And I think NVX on that day, I maybe pushed it a little bit too far, and there was sort of like a adverse outcome. But you take lessons away from that, and
totally.
But it's just very interesting how because that happened, though, it really compromised your mentality to actually nail the trade. Because if I'd started that trade from a position of strength, I would have dealt with it very differently than the way that it occurred.
Yeah.
And so I think
totally.
that's staying in your lane. I think sizing is a big aspect for me. You sort of got to normalize that level, and then when the situation is right, you got to push the boundary and sort of go for it. But
and I suppose to stay in your lane, you got to know what your lane is. And to your point earlier, Chase, about niching down, like you got to find out where you're comfortable and what kind of trades work for you. Like not everything's going to work. Not every sector is going to work. Not every denomination is going to work. Not every market cap is going to work. Not every like sizing is going to work. Not every like swinging, scalping, whatever. So niching down, figuring out what your lane looks like, and then staying in it. I mean, until you kind of feel like you got to like dance around a little bit just to kind of like build your skill set.
Sure,
maybe.
and like you don't know what that is until because as you said, like feel, like the idea of feel is all about experience. So you don't know what an A+ setup looks like until you've seen it enough times. You're like, oh, I know, like I feel like this is a good setup. You know what I mean? Like a lot of it's just intuition. Like you can't. An A+ setup is so much more about like having seen it multiple times before, having traded it multiple times before, and then it kind of becomes your A+ setup. But once again, like that's just all experience and just trading that setup multiple times and then seeing it in the moment. So I think when you first start attacking it, like you just got to trade lots of different stuff and then see what feels right.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, boys. In terms of outsized losses, I actually don't know exactly if you guys have ever experienced them, like having like a real big, like not like a gradual grind, not a gradual like drawdown, but like a real big outsize, like holy shit, that's too big of a loss, right? Have you guys ever experienced them? And what have you taken away from that moving forward to know what not to do next
time? We're talking
time?
like a black swan event, or we're talking like I messed up.
Look, it should be. Well, one thing we were talking about last week was how you should only really have one of those big blow up days a quarter, right? Something that me and Fab talked about last week, because I've had too many of them this year. Let's put it that way. And yeah, we were kind of saying, like you shouldn't really be having more than one a quarter if you want to keep momentum going. So yeah, pretty much at outsize, like, you totally just, the rails fell off. You just really got a trade idea wrong. You got caught in something. I don't know what it looks like exactly, but yeah.
Yeah.
Anyone experience that?
I've had plenty.
Do you guys just crush it? You guys don't know what that feels like?
No, I think one trade that's always screwed me is fading momentum, which I try my best to never do anymore. Like that setup never has had edge for me. Don't know if it ever will. Maybe on exponential moves is like the rare case where like it works for me, where you you're fading, shorting the backside of a move, but just trying to fade momentum. I'd won in some concrete company, AB, can't remember, ticker. It's AB something. Yeah. Anyway, they'd lost ABC. It was ABC. You're right. Yep, it was ABC. I was just like, it was a contract loss. I longed I longed it when it was clear short. It was like a multi-day short, pretty much. But I longed it on the front side. I think it was 2 or 3 months into full-time trading, and then I lost 10K or something, which was pretty significant at the time. That was like a monthly return. Yeah, that's solid. Yeah, and I guess you kind of need those big losses to really like ingrain at you, because it's like a scar. And I guess like after because it's so like off-putting, those big losses, that it really does ingrain it into you. I've still faded stuff again and again, but like that was the one loss that I noticed in the moment. I'm like, what are you doing? Like, why are you trying to fade this? Just because it's elevated off VWAP and then it's I just said VWAP. It just because just because it's elevated doesn't mean you have to fade it. Like, just because it's it's if it's a strong catalyst, there's no reason that it has to return to VWAP. Kind of that kind of stuff. Like, just fading strong stocks. Yeah. And I can't actually remember what your question was, but
what do we say, guys?
Yeah, don't fight. Yeah,
the market's always right.
Those 8 losses for me are always trying to fight direction of the trade and when there's momentum. So
And how do you so since that moment, has it just been a clear cut, like, all right, I just avoid trying to fade momentum?
It has been.
Or how else have you minimized? I
think it's having like the variables more along, so exactly what variables it takes to be a backside. Like it's like I wouldn't just fade backside because it looks extended now. Like, it has to be exponential. It has to have that blow off week candles. The volume has to be
probably like a multi-day move,
like that capitulation upside move. The more variables will have to align. I'll have to see more and then categorize it better than just being it's too far from VWAP. You know what I mean? Like, it has to fit more variables for it to be defined as okay, this is backside move, and this is a setup that I think that I have like profitability in. So I guess it's just having more variables, understanding the trade better, before taking that trade again.
Dan, outsized loss. Talk to me. What is it? Give me some details.
Yes, just to like add on to like what Chase was saying about the losses. I think sometimes when these losses are like, humans are generally reactive individuals, and I remember I was reading a Brett Steenbarger post after I took a sizable drawdown at one point, and it was like, you have to really feel the emotion of the loss, because it's what's going to really like ingrain with you that you don't want to experience that again. So like, as much as like, we want to be perfect traders, these things are inevitably going to happen, but I think we need to really take them as learning experiences and avoid doing it in future. And I think if you take outsized loss like that really hurts, you have to look at, in the moment it might seem real rough, but you have to take the positives and the learning aspect of it.
I feel like it's important to sit with it. Like
for sure.
Like what you were saying, you need to sit with it to know like what that feels like. And I feel like, I'm a person who spent a lot of my life avoiding things, like, and whether that's through drugs, sex, alcohol, gambling. Like, I've spent a lot of my life, like, if things get hairy, or if I don't like a certain situation, I've spent a lot of my life avoiding it. And that's one thing that I really, really struggle with in my trading now. That if because if I have a bad day, if I have a blow up day, or if I trade really poorly, I do find it difficult at times to go, do you know what, Matt? It's just a loss. Now figure out one, how it feels, so you're attempting not to feel that again. But two, what you actually did wrong, so that you can correct it for tomorrow. Like, just actually sitting with it, knowing how it feels, letting that sink in, understanding that that's not the end of your journey, that's just a part of your journey, figuring out what the process was to how you got to losing that day, and then making sure that you don't do it again tomorrow, or at least in the near future. So yeah, I think it's a great point. Sit with it, feel it, understand it. Make notes if you want to, but don't lament on it. I think it's important not to lament as well. Like you can definitely like feel something and like sit with it and really understand the emotion behind it. But I think it's also just as important as it is to not avoid it is to not lament and go, oh, I'm such like, can't believe I did that thing. I can't believe like it's just as important to not do that.
Yeah, for sure. And I think it's important to distinguish between like whether it was an avoidable event or not, like something that's like you got stuck in a random hole.
Yeah, totally.
It's kind of out of your control. Like, it is what it is. It sucks.
Yeah.
But you just got to take it on the chin. And I think it's also important, like regarding the halts, like sometimes even though they halt, like a big example of like something that I remember is FNP, where I don't know if you traded that day where it like sort of it opened when like directors were basically just dropping like flies, or the leadership team or something. Right. Yeah, and I traded for a couple hours, and then all of a sudden it halted, and it was like halted for a year, and then you were dead if you were caught in that.
Yeah, I think closed at like $3 and opened like 20 cents or something, didn't it?
It was ridiculous.
Yeah, it did.
So like
I think it was even. I think it was like 5. Really? I think it opened even higher.
I don't know, but like situations like that, I feel like when there's something where it's suspicious about a company, you should just probably. Well, from that experience, I at least took that I'm just going to avoid trading it because I don't want to get trapped in something where, it might seem like an easy scalp or something, but I'd rather just not get involved.
Yeah, so I get this is a really good point, and one that Fab is kind of, tries to tell me all the time, and one that I'm kind of conscious of is the idea of being on the right side of the trade, and the concept of like, because people talk about, like, for example, that FMP. I talk about this example all the time, or it's an example that I think about all the time, that FMP day, right? So if you were like trying to buy the dip there, if you were trying to scalp it long, right, and then you got caught in that halt, you might be able to make money buying that dip there or scalping that long. You might be able to make money, but at the end of the day, it's down fucking whatever it was, 50 or 60% for a reason. Oh no, it wasn't that much at the time. It was only like maybe 20 or something. But it's down that much for a reason. So if you're buying it, you inherently take on a lot more risk because you're on the wrong side of the trade. And yeah, it's unlucky for you to get caught in a hole. But if you were just shorting it, like if you're just attempting to short it even further, you'd be on the right side, if you know what I mean. And so if you were then to get caught in that hole short, like that's the difference between being on the right side of luck or being on the wrong side. It's actually being on the right side or the wrong side of the trade. And then I think I don't know, was it I think Fabio had this trade, maybe was it MSB or
where he's short.
I remember that.
He's short MS. Yeah, short MSB, right? Goes into a hole, opens up a gaps down, fucking, I don't know, like 50K something trade. That's been on the right side of the trade. And yeah, it's luck to be caught in that trade and for it to gap down and all this and that. But at the end of the day, he's on the right side of the trade, and he kind of creates his own luck in that sense. So you always have an option to buy or to short, and whether or not it goes a certain way or the other way defines how you perceive luck. But if you're trying to be on the right side more often than not, you're going to have better luck more often than not.
For sure. Sort of trading with the flow kind of thing.
Yeah, totally. Trading with the flow. And what do we say, guys? The market is never wrong.
For sure.
Oh, sorry. Okay. All right. So I'm gonna ask one more question here, and then we're gonna probably jump into some questions from our listeners at home. Chase, I'll start with you. How are you feeling about the year so far from a trading point of view, and how do you have any goals for the rest of this year that you're aiming toward?
I feel it's been pretty good. I mean, like our conditions have been. No one can complain about the conditions. We've had months, little patches of where liquidity's dried up, and conditions haven't been great. But all in all, it's been a pretty decent month. I don't think anyone can complain so far. No. In terms of goals for me, just try to selectively get bigger in the right trades. Try to push size harder and harder. Like where I think I've got some sort of edge, or I feel like I've got, it's working in my favor. Try to maybe define a little bit more structure around trade management. Become more systematic in exiting. Something that's probably definitely held me back is just exiting too early. So just try to be a bit more systematic about that. Try to develop some sort of approach to exit, because I write it down. This is what I should do, but actually doing it in the moment, I don't seem to follow my rules or the rules that I set the previous month for myself. So it's probably actually executing on what I set myself. So actually doing what I say in terms of exiting and following, a more systematic approach when I've got size in a good place and the trade's going for me. Not letting making sure that those wins are outsized and that they can make up for the smaller losses, I guess. Just more of that.
Systematizing, following your own rules, and getting better with your exits. Yeah, beauty. Dan, talk to me. How's the year traveling for you? How you feeling about it? I mean, I know how it's traveling, but how you feeling about it? And then, what do the goals look like for the rest of the year?
Yeah, year's traveling good. Feeling optimistic about it.
Good.
Goals for the rest of the year. I think one of the big ones for me is being able to, in a shorter, sort of between like market conditions changing, being able to sort of adapt quicker, sort of moving from like, okay, I'm going to go for like a home run trade here versus like taking a quick scalp, and moving on, just taking easy money. I think just things, that adjustment, that fine balance I'm sort of still working on. So working on that, nailing a high conviction swing trade. So swing trade is not really my lane, but it's sort of an area that I'm trying to, sort of break into. Develop exactly. Just, trading small size, the sectors that are moving and stuff. So just trying to, catch something there. And also nailing a breaking news trade with size.
Yeah, that'd be
nice. It would be nice.
Yeah.
Something.
Come to mama.
Yeah. We haven't had one. We haven't had one at all.
Not for a minute.
For a while now.
But seriously, hands on the trigger. They will come, and we will be ready.
That hasn't even been really a short report.
No.
Yeah.
For a while.
Yeah. What about yourself, Sav?
Goals? Goals for us a year. Get out of drawdown, first one. Been in drawdown for about 4.5 months now, so pretty keen to get out of that motherfucker. And then I don't know. It's a good question. Probably just get back to getting my win rate high, getting my discipline back, just spending more time in front of the screens, and probably systematizing things just a little bit more as well, like refining, because I got bits and pieces that I like to, there's certain things and certain tools that I lean on from time to time, but I'm not putting together like a full week or a full 2 weeks of like really solid, day in, day out, up at the same time, exercise at the same time. I would like to kind of get to that by the end of the year. Obviously, like lockdowns constantly in and out of lockdowns is not really helping. But that's kind of there's some of the things definitely.
That sounds good. Yeah.
I also feel like I'm doing a lot of work at the moment around building my confidence and building my self-esteem to the point where I'm not so emotionally attached to my trading results. So just really honing in on that for the rest of this year, just really like taking the monetary part out, really honing in on feeling successful before I come to the screen and not needing the result to indicate whether or not I am successful. So that's a big one for me, and one that's like it's really hard to quantify that one, but it's one that I know that it needs a lot of work and one that I'm pretty intent on sorting out.
I think like at the end of the day, like setting like arbitrary P&L targets is kind of futile. We just sort of we got to come in. There's an opportunity set presented in front of us, and we just got to make that one good trade. As a wise man once said.
Yeah, absolutely, man.
They're useless.
Nick Fabio. Yeah. I think we'll jump into some questions now, boys.
Sweet.
What do you reckon?
Sounds good.
All right, so I'll just answer one here. I got in the Twitter inbox while everyone's kind of, guys. If you want to ask a question, feel free to request to be a speaker, and then I'll put you in and we can ask some questions. But I just asked one that I got on Twitter in the DM. It's from Schultz Capital, and he wants to know, question for Chase: how many stocks on his watch list, or is it just ADT?
ADT has its own watch list since her ADT's high on the watch list. No, boys, I'm telling you. Takeover's coming. It's been coming for 2 years now.
I could tell.
Yeah, no, it's something that I'm willing to commit like capital to. So I'm pretty convinced on the idea. They say don't fall in love with stocks, but it's far too late for that. Nah.
You got the rose tinted glasses on.
Nah. I'd back it.
Yeah. Okay, fair enough. All right. Does anyone want to ask any questions? Ladies and gentlemen, the floor is yours right now to jump on here and ask these 3 2.5 experienced and profitable traders any question that you would like. Go for it. And go for it. We'll just give them a couple minutes to warm up. They might need a. No. Oh, here we go. We got one. Alpha Zero. Let's put him on. Alpha Zero, how are we, mate? Welcome.
Thanks, guys, for
the
chat. Yeah. I think one of the common themes across really great traders is the morning prep that they put in. Do you want to talk a bit more about what you guys do and how you've been doing it, or how that's evolved over the times you've been trading?
Yeah. Do either of you two want to go first, or do you want me to hit it?
Yeah, you go for it, bro.
Yeah, go for it.
Look, in terms of morning prep, actually, no, I'll let you two go because I can fucking talk anytime. Chase, hit me.
All right. So typically, like I've got, I don't probably have the same prep as like intraday traders. So I'm probably not as focused on news catalysts as like some intraday traders are. So I'll have watch lists of each of the stocks and sectors that I'm watching, and then I have my screen set up so that it's 2 charts and 2 books on each of the 4 screens, so that then I can circle through. So I'll have all those stocks that are finding early volume bids, and then I'll just be reviewing them. Obviously, like in the morning prep that I'm going through, especially like commodity prices, ETFs, that kind of thing, making sure if there's any significant news events, say for instance that Vale cut some iron ore output or something like that may have influence, our stocks. So going through all that in the morning, but then mostly just trying to work out which stocks are finding early volume. Obviously, I'm going to go through and do like a review of sector wide and see what's been finding volume, see what's been breaking out, and then try to find stocks in that sector that look to be, getting to an interesting point, maybe finding some bids, setting up. And then I'll probably just select them to put up on my screen, and then I'll just circle through them in the morning, see what tapes are looking the best, see what's getting the most volume, see what's looking the most active, and then look to trade those throughout the day.
So just to be clear, Chase, you wake up, have a great northern.
Sorry, I forgot that part. Yeah.
Go for a bit of a surf.
Get on the beers early.
Yeah. And then what time are you getting to the computer?
I usually get here about 7. Then I'll usually go for a walk. Just have a coffee and go for a walk on the beach in the morning.
Just out of curiosity, how many times? I'm just trying to get my head around this. How many times do you kind of like type in ADT between 7 and 10.
I've got a screen just dedicated to it. Oh, yeah, I worship a little angel in the corner called ADT.
I'm imagining this little altar, like somewhere in your room with like a little ADT ticker sign and
light
like
a
some
candle,
incense. Yeah. Yeah. Okay. All right. But on a serious note, you get to the computer about 7. Go through your ETFs, or you check all your commodities. Go through the watch list.
Overseas, news events, that kind of stuff, ETFs, and then by 8 o'clock, go make some brekkie, go for a walk, and then back. Say, for instance, at 9, and then from 9 onwards, I'll just start watching each of the books as they, trickle in bids, and then I'll go through. Obviously, I'll go through news as well, as it filters in. But I'm not just trading a stock because it has news. So I will trade stocks because if they have news and the tape, it looks like it's setting up. But I won't specifically only trade stocks that have got news, if that makes sense.
Yeah. Beauty. All right, Dan, what about yourself, mate? Morning routine, what's that look like?
Yes, sort of similar. I guess mine's more intraday, sort of catalyst based. So get to the screens around 7:30. Start checking the overnight movers, etc. And then as the news flows in, I think for me, you really got to hone in on like 2 or 3 ideas and like know sort of what it's looking like intimately. Like how's the market positioned? Will this drive flow? Because at the end of the day, I think we're just trying to identify where there's volume going to be moving in the market, and then you sort of try and come up with a narrative around that, and where the levels are, etc. And I think you go through all the news. I get to the screen 7:30. You go through the news. You go through the overnight movers, and once you hone in on your 3 ideas, you start to sort of break that down a bit further. That's sort of my process.
Yeah. Totally. And then, I guess when the market opens, you kind of like, what have you narrowed it down to by that time? Is it 1 or 2 names? You're trying to watch every group open?
Yeah, so I'd have like a spreadsheet open where I sort of put in the auction times and what I want to watch within those groups. Doesn't mean I'll necessarily trade them, because gaps can sort of happen quite close to the open, and that sort of changes how you'll prioritize a certain trade, etc. So definitely by group, and then just whatever looks right to me or makes the most sense to me, then I'll just sort of take it if I see it.
Yeah, beauty. Alpha, what do you think, mate? Is that helpful, or do you have any more thoughts or questions around that?
No, that's brilliant. Thanks, guys.
Pleasure, mate.
Yeah, no problem, mate. Have a good weekend, Alpha.
Cheers.
See you, mate.
All right, so we'll remove Alpha. We'll get Rupert up now. I'll add Rupert as a speaker. Rupert, talk to us. How are we, mate?
Good, thanks, boys. Love this little routine we've got going on. I do find that as convenient as Friday is, sometimes, like, especially last week, I came off this corner, I was like, fuck yeah, so hyped. Like, that Aldi thing was so funny. I think that was you, Chase, who was saying it. And then it's like, you're hyped over the weekend, and then Monday comes, and you're like, right. Like, all that Momo's gone.
It's a big yeah, exactly.
But I think, Dan, you're saying you were doing civil engineering and you got like let go or whatever. I'm just curious. You said you've been going for about 2 years now. Like, do you think if you stayed or weren't let go, you would have made more than what you've made day trading in that time period?
Me?
Yeah. Well, I mean, you're all welcome to answer it.
Who was the question directed to?
I think it's whoever was doing the engineering. I'm just curious.
Oh,
yeah.
No, you're right. If I was to stay with engineering, probably trading. I wasn't getting paid that much engineering, because I was only like a couple of years in, so I wasn't getting paid much in the construction industry. And to be honest, I was doing pretty long hours, so it wasn't not only like it was draining, and my lifestyle these days is a lot better.
Yeah.
so
now you're just putting up a lazy
dude, I'd do this for nothing. If I could just live life and I dead set come to the computer every Monday morning and do this. Like, I wouldn't, even if I could just make like a very modest salary, I'd still come and do this. I actually really enjoy the process of the whole thing. So, it wouldn't really matter to me whether or not I got paid more one or the other. If this paid less, I'd still take this any day of the week.
Yeah.
Yeah, amen.
Cool. Cheers, boys. That's it.
Is that it, Rupert?
I don't really have a good question. So
no,
that was fine,
mate.
G.
Good question.
What about you, Dan? Just out of curiosity, do you feel like you've made as much or more trading than you would have if you were still working?
I think I'm starting to see the benefits of the hockey stick. Let's just say that. Like, yeah, I feel like, I feel like that.
Probably slightly ahead.
I feel like that latter section where it really does. It's kind of demoralizing there for a while, but then once it starts to like take off, you start to sort of see some light at the end of the tunnel.
Yeah,
and like you can have one big trade that will make up for like months. You might have 3 really flat months, and then have 1 month that because it's so there's not really consistent your income. It's not like you earn, as you get better, you earn consistently more each month. Like you might have 1 shit month and then 1 really, really good month. So like, you know what I mean? Like Dan, for instance, could come to next month and have 4 or 5 like his favorite setup sizes hard into him and makes more in that month than he would. So like I guess for his sense that like
for sure,
it takes us 1 good month for him to exceed the salary.
Amen.
So,
yeah. Beauty.
Have a good weekend.
Thank you, Rupert. Have a good weekend, mate. All right, who's washing their dishes? Dan?
No, that ain't me.
Ain't me. I'm
Chase,
in the office.
Are you washing dishes?
I can hear it.
Washing their dishes. Yeah. Someone's stacking
I can hear it as well.
Dishes in the back.
Maybe it's Rupert.
Boy, yeah, maybe Rupert. I'll have a chat to him later. Have we got any more questions from the gang? If not, I'll just read out 1 or 2 questions that I'm getting in Twitter DM while we wait. And if we don't get any more, then Bobo wants to ask. No, Bobo, I'm telling you, mate, if this is your algo question, I'll block you instantly. No. Oh, here we go. All right. Add as a speaker. Bo knows. Bo knows.
So I've just got a question about algos.
Don't you dare.
I've actually got a question for Chase. I've got 2, just observing your trading styles. One of them is, it seems like a lot of your trades are based on a commodity push. So do you kind of just sector them into smart lists, into Spark, and just start watching the whole sector as you've got, lithium, or like gold, ETF? Yeah.
For sure. Like if there's certain outperformance, I'm going to say here, but tin, like say for instance, something like that's got not only an outperformance, but like a significant outperformance where you've got like an exponential move and you've got stocks that aren't moving, even though this has been the worst trade idea I've ever had because it's still nothing's happened. So sometimes it just doesn't work and it's proving to be the process this time. But like if you're just looking for I'm just looking for exceptional moves. Like stuff that's out of the ordinary, not just because it moved 1 or 2%, but like pure. If there's a lag between reaction in equities to the underlying commodity, just trying to find that discrepancy and then try to see if there's any flows onto equities, especially small caps, that could follow the commodity curve. So just trying to see if there's any difference between the two, and then try to.
That's great. And would you say that you jump in before the market's caught up, or do you sort of wait for that initial push?
I try to. It's like there's a fine line there because you don't want to jump in when there's no volumes, because then you just get stuck in a dead trade, and especially in some of these stocks that they're very liquid until they find volume. So you don't want to go in with big size and then find out no one else is following you in, and then you're stuck with this size in the book and you can't get out. And especially on a negative side of the market, has a little bit of a pullback, people just sell it indiscriminately despite it being in a strong commodity. So it's trying to find when volume starts to come into the book and, there is some traction. You don't want to do it before there's traction. So it's trying to get it when it's starting to find traction, but it hasn't come out of the base. So I try to get a starter there and then add as it gathers momentum, as it builds. So it's trying to time it, I guess.
Yeah, no, that's great. Thanks for that.
No worries, mate.
All good,
I've
Bubba?
got just another one. Just one thing that I've found just trying to play the sort of cheaper end of the market is when you hit in, quite often the spread itself is just such a large amount of your target because you're obviously not looking for, these 10 cent, 20 cent moves. How do you manage to keep such a high consistency when just to get in, you're already offside?
When you say offside, like, do you mean that, like, say if I take an offer and I take half the offer, if I was to hit out, I'd be like hitting the bid, so that I'd be losing?
Yeah.
I always try to find like a book where there's some sort of algo or because like that's one of the things that as soon as you hit that first bid, like you'll pretty much know if you're right or wrong by the way the tape reacts. Because if you hit it and nothing happens, and you're kind of like, fuck, like, yeah, I hope someone like hits this line after me, because that's why I always think that it's best to ladder into those kind of trades where you take a small parcel as what I just refer to as like a tester parcel of that stock, and then see how the stock reacts. Like, do bids follow you? Do people take the offer? I never go full size into a trade, just based on like a idea, like, oh yeah, the commons are up, so I try to like ladder into it, I guess is the phrase. But yeah, I never just because that happens. Like sometimes you just hit the bid. Hit the offer and then nothing happens, and you're like, shit, like big, it's because it's small cuts, it's small denom, so like it's probably, it could be $500 a tick, $500. If you've gone in full size, then say you're $1,000, $2,000 offside instantly. So yeah, I guess you're just trying to come in with small size, hope the book reacts in a friendly way, like there's an algo that follows you and takes the next offer or something like that. I guess you can you can see quite quickly if you're right or wrong when you enter, I think.
Yeah, that's great. No, thanks for answering that.
No, pleasure, mate.
Cool.
Thanks, Bubba. Have a good weekend, mate.
You too.
All right. Remove from speaker. I've just got one question here over in my Twitter DMs. Probably one or two more questions, and then we'll wrap it up, boys. So who we got? I'll go with this one first. So Brett wants to know, I don't intra trade, but if you didn't have Spark, would you still be able to do it successfully? Any opinion there, lads? Dan or Chase?
You want to go,
Dan? Spark is a very invaluable tool.
Yeah.
I'd be looking to sell him on it. I think it's possible. Like, you can read the depth on Iris and stuff, but yeah, I don't know. I've just gotten so used to reading the histograms and the tape.
I can only talk about my experience, and my experience is, the order book is kind of God, and without that, like my whole trade philosophy wouldn't be possible. So, would I figure out something else? Yeah, probably. I'd probably have to, or I'd just go work a bar job, maybe. But yeah, at the end of the day, like, this is what I do. This is all I know. And that's all I can really talk to is, Spark is incredibly important. I think, for me.
I think, like, I started on just watching Viewpoint, and I didn't get Spark until I went full time. But, like, it's not required. Like, you can do it without it. But I think it definitely is a tool that most traders wouldn't want to go without. Okay,
I think the big thing as well is the fact that you can replace stuff, especially tape.
Yeah, that's huge.
It's like a learning mechanism. Yeah,
the ability to go back and like see, because like sometimes, like, for instance, you'll see a print in the book, and you'll be like, oh, I wonder if that was done like how was it? Did someone like pop up in the book and then it was instantly smacked? Like, you want to see how the book reacted to a certain, say if an offer came up online and then it instantly got taken, and you're like, oh, there's an algo like going to take anything that comes on bid. Like maybe I could take the next offer and it'll follow me. Like you can kind of get an idea of like the participant in the book and if they're a buyer or a seller and that kind of thing. I think that helps because you can go replay and see how the book responds to certain orders.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, totally. So, Chase, does Kyle Purcell?
Yeah, he's from Torquay. Yeah.
Yeah, so he just dropped me a line in the DM and he just said, I would jump on and share this story, but he's working at the moment. He's bartending. But he said how huge shout out to Chase for investing time to come have a chat with me on the beach at one time. And he said the confidence and the reassurance I received that day has led me out of drawdown to averaging 2K a month for the last 5 months. And he said, still, he's stoked and he just said thanks.
Great work.
Thanks,
Good
Chase.
work. It's big. That's huge.
Yeah. Yes. So whatever you said obviously has played a role in him being able to turn his fortunes around.
It's all his work, but yeah, no, that's great effort. Well done.
Yeah, good on him. All right, I might do one more here, and then I think we'll wrap it up, boys. Sure. So this is another like Twitter DM. So we got Meds is asking, Dan, you're mentioning that you've just started trying to swing trade, or at least testing the waters there, and how do you kind of get your head around swing trading? Is there anything you read in particular, or is it just trial and error?
Yeah, good question. I think for me, and something that sort of Chase led onto as well, is the only stuff that I'm trying to swing trade is very high conviction, where it's like I believe in the fundamentals, the chart's sort of setting up, and I know that worst case, if something happened, like I'm not going to be caught in a raise or anything like that. I think those are like big flags to sort of watch out for.
Yeah.
But yeah, in terms of specifics around entry strategies, exit strategies, work in progress, just, sort of leaning on other guys that are doing it, even talking to Chase and just learning as much as I can.
Yeah. Speaking of talking to Chase, any pointers, Chase, on swing trading?
On swing trading, I'm not sure that I'm that good at it either. I kind of feel that swing trading is a little bit more process driven. That I'm still.
So when you're trading, are you closing all your positions in today?
No. So I don't really know how to define. Like people like are you a swing trader or do you intraday? I kind of do both. I'm not really sure how to define it. So I think swing trading is more like. I'm not very process driven. Like if I feel like the take gets heavy, then I'm just out, which is probably not the best way to play it. But I mean, yeah, I think because I'm here every day, like I'm trading intraday. Like I'm taking profit to intraday. So I'd probably still describe myself as an intraday trader, but I'm willing to take overnight risk and I'm willing to like let trades play out over a shorter term. So however you define that. Yeah. I'm not quite sure how that should be defined.
I think it sounds like there's a little bit of
most
there,
definitely.
but it's also
probably a hybrid of both, really.
Yeah. Is the chopping, like kind of chopping pieces off, is that to kind of like bolster I don't know, the P&L while you're kind of like kind of hold a core position?
I think it gives you cash flow, so that it allows you to ride out that position without being like, shit, I can't turn this into a loss. Like it gives you like you feel more confident saying, all right, so I've taken a certain amount of profit. Like I'm not going to lose on this trade when it gets to here. I can run a call and see what happens. If it works against me, I can still cut, a couple ticks lower, and I haven't lost that much of my profit. I'm still in profit, even if it's come back to the base that I was buying. So I guess it gives you a bit of confidence to run that core and understand that it's still going to be a profitable trade if you're on the right side of the trade.
Yeah, totally. All right, Trader RB wants to know, can you ask the lads whose is bigger on MLX?
Oh fuck!
Is that a reference we understand? Because I got no idea.
I'll let Chase dig into the fundamentals of current tin macroeconomics.
It's actually been. So when you're talking about swing trading, I bought this 6 months ago. So I think that defines me as a swing trader. I've been waiting for this thing to break out for 6 months, so it's a bit of a running joke. So I think it's trying to break out 4 or 5 times now, and I've
where have you got them from?
I don't even know because I bought and sold it. I've scalped this thing so many times, like just buying and selling ranges, waiting for it to do anything. That I'm not even sure where my core position would be. Yeah. So I don't know. Dan's is growing. His position's been growing as I've been trying to con him into buying more.
It's behaving so far. It's behaving so far.
We've had a win this week. It's not going down. So
beauty.
Yeah.
All right, lads. I think we'll wrap it up. Until next time, what do we say?
The market's never wrong.
The market's always right. Oh, wait,
never wrong,
never
always
wrong?
right. Who knows?
The market is never wrong. Oh, wait up. We got Jordan. This will be the last question. Jordan snuck in there. We'll give him a crack, and then we'll get out of here. I don't know. Where'd he go? Jordan. Hello. Jordan, you got 3 seconds, and then I'm binning it. All right, no dice. All right, lads, I just want to say thank you to both of you. Chase, I appreciate your time. Dan, I appreciate your time. Thanks for taking a punt.
Thanks for your time.
And jumping on here with me.
And thanks to the listeners as well.
Thanks for everyone tuning in.
Yeah, thanks. I appreciate everyone who tuned in. I guess might try to do it again next week. I suppose we're all in lockdown still, so why not?
Yeah. But good one, mate. You're doing a good job. It's great to hear this.
Really appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you, boys. Well, have a great weekend, and I'll speak to you around the traps.
Sweet, mate.
See you later.
Good to see you.
Take it easy.
Catch you, lads. Thanks, guys. See you, everyone.